Hey Vista, happy Monday. I don't know actually if Monday feels very different from any other day for you, but maybe little moments like this where we can be thinking some of the same thoughts together, putting our eyes on the same horizon line together. Maybe that could help with these different rhythms that we're trying to create as a church body, as a family who are united in Christ together. Maybe these moments have been helpful that way. I have found it to be that way. I can't tell you how much I look forward to actually Sundays where even though we're still at home, we have a chance to, as a family, sort of gather around the computer and turn our eyes towards the truth. And it's very encouraging to me to think that there's people doing that same thing all around the city. Maybe not at the exact same time, but in the same ways, turning towards the truth. That's been really important to me. Really important to me, the way that those worship sessions on Thursdays or on the Sunday mornings have reminded me that I have a song to sing. Because if I'm being honest, there's been a moment or two over the last 6 weeks now of being home where I have felt like I didn't have a song to sing. I might have even tried to pull out the guitar and sing, and I found it hard. There's been moments like that, and that's a rarity for me to feel that sense of a loss of the narrative or a difficulty raising my voice. Actually, I can think of a time just last week where that happened. I was reading articles online about, of course, the season of life that we're in, and one of the things I stumbled across was this photo essay of New York City, New York in a time of pandemic, and there were all these pictures of these places that are usually populated with people and with, these massive multicultural crowds and street performers and people hawking their wares, and they were just empty. That day hit me hard. I don't know why that day or why those pictures necessarily, but I felt like I didn't have a song that I could sing. I actually was sort of reminded of Psalm 137, where the psalmist talks about the people of Israel being in exile in Babylon and weeping along the riverbanks of Babylon and hanging their harps on the poplar trees because they could not sing. Now, Psalm 137 actually goes a way that I don't want my heart to go. It goes towards anger and frustration, and I think there are ways that Psalm 137 is actually a warning to our hearts. Because when I feel like that, when I feel like I don't have a song to sing, I have to be reminded that that's just a feeling. That's just a feeling. The things that are true and transcendently true remain true. And those songs that I have to sing about truth are still there. In fact, I feel like my own heart has known that. One of the things that I've experienced actually over the last 6 weeks is this odd sensation of waking up with a song in my head. Often songs I haven't thought about in years, actually sometimes decades. For the first few weeks, the song that was always in my head when I woke up was a Keith Green song. Oh Lord, you're beautiful, your face is all I seek, and when your eyes are on this child, your grace abounds to me. I haven't sung that song in maybe 20 years, at least in like a church setting, and yet it was in my mind when I woke up. It's as though my heart was saying, you dare not stop singing. Here's what's true. Don't forget it. My heart had a song to sing. My soul had a song to sing, and it feels like it's sort of like seeping out of me when I wake up. Actually, just this morning, a different song was in my head when I woke up, and I couldn't even believe it. It's a children's song that I haven't maybe even heard in 30 years. I'm not exactly sure what the source is. I think it's like from Salty Praise. Can you imagine this? I'm 39 years old. I haven't, been around Salty Praise singing, children singing for maybe 30 years, and this song was just running through my head when I woke up. I cast all my cares upon you. I lay all of my burdens down at your feet. And anytime I don't know what to do, I cast all my cares upon you. Where in the world did that come from? It came out of my soul. What the people of Israel had forgotten during exile is that if you're in a foreign land, it doesn't mean that God is distant from you. When they hung their harps from the poplar trees, they needed to remember that their voices may have been faltering, but their souls still had a song to sing. Now, they did remember eventually. This is odd in the arrangement of the Psalms, but there's a psalm that actually comes later chronologically when the people return to Zion. The songs that they felt like they couldn't sing when they were in the foreign land in Babylon came back to them when they returned. It says in Psalm 126, when the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. Then it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. And they have this picture of their mouths being filled again, the chance to sing and be reminded of the truth. But here's what's really interesting about this psalm. They're remembering a return to Zion, but actually they're in the midst of a season of sadness, of frustration. If you get to verse 4, you see that the psalmist returns to the present tense and says, restore our fortunes, and talks about sowing with tears, but praying to God that they will reap songs of joy. And it says, the psalmist says with confidence in verse 6, those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with them. What I'm struck by is this. They knew that even though they were currently sowing in tears, that they would eventually reap in joy. How did they know it? What lesson had they learned? What they were able to do is look to the past and say, God has always been faithful. What they were able to do is look to the past and say, I know that God has always turned our mourning into dancing, our sorrow into joy. Maybe the thing that they forgot in Babylon, at least for a moment, a long enough moment for them to write it down in a psalm, was something that had been solidified in their heart. And when they returned to Zion, they remembered. And they were taught to sing a song of joy at that point. A song so strong, so everlasting, that when the next season of pain and sorrow came along, they were reminded that God will bring some joy out of this. Even if they sow in tears, they will reap in joy. Here's the biblical picture of hope. Here's the song my soul needs to be singing. Here's what hope means. Biblical hope means this. It means believing God will fulfill his promises because he always has. Believing God will fulfill his promises because he always has. So I can see through the valley to the mountain peaks beyond it. I can see through the silence to the songs that will come later. I can see through the tears to the joy that will come later, because that is what our God does. He brings us through these valleys and he restores us, he redeems us, he rescues us, he recovers all that is his. Now, it doesn't always happen in the timing we would prefer. Of course it doesn't. It doesn't happen in the way we would want, but it happens in the most beautiful ways. And that is the song I need to be singing. That's the thing I need to be careful to remember. During a season like ours, it's so important to be remembering the right things. We need to be careful what we remember. We need to be purposeful about what we forget. We need to have our eyes fixed on the horizon line, but not let go of the fact that God has always been faithful in the past. The psalmist in Psalm 126 figured that out. There's a memory that the people of Israel are holding on to. Often that memory is the Exodus, but the return from exile is another. And we have plenty of memories of our own that we can hold firmly to, that we can build on, knowing those were moments where God was faithful, and believing in our hearts that God will be faithful in the future, because He always has been. Maybe songs that we learn now will seep out of our souls 30 years from now, like the children's song that came out of my heart this morning, or the Keith Green song I hadn't sung in decades. Maybe God is sowing, even in our tears, something that will reap a great amount of joy and a great amount of good for His kingdom. We need to remember to sing those songs now. We need to fix our eyes on those truths now. I hope that this week you'll have a chance to do that with us. On Wednesday, a chance to pray, to fix our eyes on Jesus through prayer. Thursday, to lift our voices together with Pastor Tammy. And then again Sunday, when we are together as a church, if only virtually, we teach each other, remind each other of the truth through song and through word and through deed, as often and as forcefully as we can, so that our souls never forget the songs that they have to sing. We never hang our harps on any poplar trees, but instead we continue to sing what is true, even in the midst of difficult times, knowing that we have hope that is fixed and sure and firm, hope that's in Jesus. That's where I've needed to turn my eyes. I know that's where we need to turn our eyes together. Let's continue to do that throughout the week. God bless you, Vista.